I am not dead. I am not dead, everyone. I'm sure I'm getting absolutely destroyed. Why are you making us wait? What do you think you're doing? We pay big money for this show. I am here, and I'm ready to talk about Iowa and that terrific, riveting win this evening over the Ohio State Buckeyes. And yes, I'm in a different place. I was at the game this evening. Traffic was a bear coming out of Carver, parked in a different place. I won't bore you with the details. We got about 100 people on here. Please take a moment to like the video, folks. If you're here and enjoying the content or angry at me because I didn't give you the content sooner, just take it out on the like button. Pound that like button and help the show to grow. Here's the deal, folks. We've got the StreamYard line open. Iowa Smokehouse is supporting our show once again this evening through our call-in line. So please use the StreamYard line if at all possible this evening. Again, we're talking Iowa's 79-77 win over the Ohio State Buckeyes. And it turned into a free throw contest down the stretch. I'm really happy for Patrick McCaffrey. I'm sure a lot of you who are watching feel the same way. I know there's been frustration, and fair enough, toward Patrick McCaffrey over the past month or so. He has struggled offensively. He struggled with confidence. He's put up a lot of goose eggs in the box score, but he made 4 big free throws down the stretch that helped seal a must win. This was a must win. They lost this game tonight. I was going to come on the air and say, it's over. I would have said that because I would have had zero confidence in this team's ability to make the tournament. And yes, I know there's always a chance you can win the conference tournament. They win out. They probably still in at 13-7, but they're not winning out, first of all. So they did what they needed to do, at least to keep their head above water this evening. And they will move on to hopefully win their second straight game here in a few days, but just a big, big win. So we've got a number of people here waiting, I know already. If you're new to the show, the StreamYard link is in the chat. In the description. I'll also throw it up in the chat. Again, the score this evening, 79-77. Before we get to our first Iowa Smokehouse caller, let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Iowa Smokehouse. Use the code Hawkeyes at iowasmokehouse.com for 15% off your total order. That's the code Hawkeyes at iowasmokehouse.com. With their meat sticks, their jerky, their salsas, their barbecue sauces, everything is great, and you're supporting an Iowa company. See how tasting is believing, and get it now. Have it ready for Super Bowl Sunday and March Madness coming up. All right, let's go to our first caller of the day. Yes, Tony. And you know why I called on you? I don't even know who was in the queue first. I'll admit that. I have no idea. I wasn't here when you came into the show, but I made the comment about midway through that second half. I said, this game is Tony time.
Is it Laji?
Listen, excuse me?
Is it because of Laji?
No, I said it's Tony time, not Tony.
Oh,
Schneider,
gotcha.
Tony
I'm sorry. No, you're
not everything's about you, Tony.
It's funny because whenever I'm on hold or I'm listening to the show, you guys always say, Tony did this, Tony did that. It's so hard for me. Like, oh yeah, they're not talking about me.
Oh, really? Is that hard? Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Tony.
I was going to say, it's not often they break out this jersey. Because that's the one they wore tonight. That one with the big tiger hawk on front and stuff like that. And
yeah,
I kind of like that black one. I wish they do this as the black one and the old gold with the cursive as the home jerseys.
Seemed like they had that out a lot more during the Garza era. Like I remember those guys wearing that all the time.
Or the cursive.
No, the all blacks with the Hawkeye logo.
Yeah. No, I agree. Oh, anyways, how was the crowd tonight? Everyone was talking about that.
What were they talking about?
Well, just how many, and some people said it didn't seem loud, but to me, one comment I wanted to make that I had down was the defense chant sounded super loud on that last set. Yeah.
Well, yeah, here's what I'll say about the crowd, and I was asked this right after the game. I was asked, "Hey, how would you rate the crowd?" I'm rating the game experience as a whole. I would give it like a D.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't have some great experience when you have an arena that holds 15,500 with 9, and no student body. No, there is no student representation. All right.
Is that because the dance weekend, the dance marathon?
I'm sorry, your dog wants a word.
Yeah. The dance marathon. Is that because the dance marathon?
I'm just gonna mute you just for a second, while I'll answer that question. I didn't even know about the dance marathon. That's the first thing. Second thing, Tony, have there actually been students at other Big Ten games? I mean, like an actual student representation at other Big Ten games? No. I was trying to cover from something. Yeah, you can spin it however you want. The student body is not engaged with Iowa basketball, but I'll give credit to the fans that were there. The fans that were there were excellent, and I give them a lot of credit because. I mean, there were times where Iowa was not playing a lick of defense. You're not rebounding the ball. I mean, they got torched in that second half on the glass. And I haven't even pulled up the official box score because I literally just got set up. They got torched on the glass in the second half. I think the total rebounding numbers were not as bad as I would have anticipated looking back at it. I think Iowa got beat out by like 2 on the whole for the night. But, man, Lodge really helped them on the glass in that first half. I would have liked to have seen more of Lodge in the second half. But I do appreciate the fact that Owen Freeman avoided foul trouble down the stretch because he got that third, sat on the bench, and I don't know. I just this is not a very good team right now. This is an Iowa team they kept their hopes alive. They kept their March hopes alive. If there are any hopes, and there are, because the conference isn't very good, and I still think if you get to 12-8, you got a shot in March to get there. But they did what they needed to do, and Tony Perkins. I know he missed a mid-range shot that would have sealed the deal. Missed a free throw late, but, man, he was really good again. And he is the guy you want with the ball in his hand down the stretch, late in the shot clock, and he ended up getting that he didn't really secure the rebound, but he fought for that final rebound that would have given Ohio State maybe a chance to win the game.
Let's see. It was nice to see. I don't think we've said this yet, but it's nice to see Patrick hit those pressure free throws down the stretch. He's gotten a lot of flack, and he looked very confident hitting it was 8 for 8 from the line, and was it three sets or two? Did he have 6 in that final stretch, or I think he had 6. I know he had two someplace else, and I think he had 6 in that final 2 minutes.
Well, he had I don't know. He had 4.
4 for sure. Okay.
4 for sure that were must hits and. I'll be honest. I'll be quite frank. I was not happy when he got fouled the first time. I thought, man, seriously, we're going to go to Patrick right now, especially given what appears to be a very low confidence level. But what I saw with Fran in the first half tonight, Tony, and I could have been totally off, but I made the comment during the game. It appeared to me that Fran made at least a nice period in that first half where he was making a concerted effort to try to ignite some level of confidence in some of these guys that have been struggling, and specifically Patrick, DeSante Bowen. You saw, trying to think of who was the third guy that was out there with that group. But it was a group that had kind of struggled of late, and he played him some minutes in that first half. I was a little surprised that he turned to Brock Harding down the stretch, but, again, got the job done, and you live to see another day, so to speak.
The one thing I'll say, and I'll close, is in these upcoming games, I just really want to see improvement, and I want to see Tony to continue to take over. It's nice to see a senior seeing his time come to an end, possibly, and taking that assertive role. But and also saying that if we want to see Tony come back, maybe let's keep upping our donations to the Swarm. And we saw what happened with football, and they might be able to give him a competitive package that he might want to come back.
Well, I think he ought to come back for reasons far beyond what he's going to make with the Swarm.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said that. I know you've heard me say that before. Yeah. I think if he's going to bet on himself, then he's going to come back for another year and really do everything he can to develop a consistent three-point shot. And if he does that, he's got a chance to be a second-round pick somewhere. And that opens the door. He's going to play somewhere professionally. Yeah. But I do think he's got the athleticism. He's got the mindset. I'll say this, and this is not a diss on anybody else on the team, but Tony, and I made the comment during that last 3-minute stretch, the reason I want Tony Perkins in the game and handling the ball late as much as I think he should, is because he appears to be the only guy that consistently plays with a sense of urgency. Mm-hmm. I think you know what I mean when I
yes.
I watch I don't want to rip on anybody specifically, but I watch Patrick with the ball in his hands late, Peyton with the ball in his hands late, Josh Dix very indecisive, and that's how I would describe it. Like not a visible sense of urgency. When I watch Tony, like he's wanting to make things happen. He got a huge foul call late in a shot clock down the stretch that sent him to the line. Got a couple of free throws out of it. You want him attacking the rim late.
I think one thing to say to make that kind of put a little bit different words to the same thing is all of those other guys you mentioned, they will catch the ball and wait to get fouled. Tony will still be the aggressor, where in situations like that, even when you have the lead and you know you're going to get fouled, be the aggressor and don't just sit and wait and think that they're going to call that foul. Force them to call that foul. Make the foul obvious. Drive into them. Force the action, and he does a tremendous job at that.
Tony Perkins, our RTI Threads player of the game. I've got the Cooper DeJean RTI Threads shirt on this evening, but he, again, just a terrific stat line, 20 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, and again, just the will to win that at the end there, because Okpara had a rebound. They were going to have a shot at a game-winning 3 or at least a game-tying 2. Missing a free throw down the stretch on purpose is one of the harder things to do.
It's very tough. And especially for a free throw shooter that's like, 60? I think they said he was like 64 or 65%. That guy at the line was not a good free throw shooter. That's why Holtman was pissed at that last chance, that he was not happy that guy got the ball because he should not have had the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
Knowing situation. And then I'm just going to close on something lighthearted. So I saw your picture on X. Did you walk halfway around Carver Hawkeye Arena to take a picture of your empty seat next to Don? Because you were sitting next to Don. Is that why you got that pic? And then walk all the way back?
Yeah. You know what? Somebody, a buddy of mine who is at the game, not with me, but was at the game across the arena. He actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, I just saw Don Patterson. He's literally like 3 rows down from me." And so a friend that I was with has a brand new Samsung, I don't even know, S23 or S24. And this Zoom feature is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
And my phone stinks. So I think like S22. Anyways, zoomed in, clearly Don. I didn't know Don was going to be at the game. So I didn't get the chance to talk to Don. But for the record, Don is a season ticket holder for the women. And I don't know how many. I know he goes occasionally for the men. So that was good.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks. I'll let you get to the other calls and listen on. Thanks.
Tony. All right. I mentioned RTI Threads. Do want to give them a plug here, folks. If you haven't checked out the apparel line over at rtithreads.com, I'll be breaking out some new gear that I just received here a couple of days ago. rtithreads.com, also Cooper DeJean apparel, still available. Get it while supplies last. CD3lacesup.com and also rtithreads.com. RTI Threads now working with Iowa baseball and the Swarm. Really cool stuff coming. And currently in the works. So check it out, rtithreads.com, cd3lacesup.com. As you support our sponsors, you're supporting the show here at From the Hawkeye of the Storm. All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. I just threw the link in the live chat if you missed it. Let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. James is on hold. James,
what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing good. James, how are you?
It's good to see you go to a game, and obviously, I haven't been to one in a while, but it's good to see a win. I think it's the most important thing, obviously, out of this. Like you said earlier, they needed this win, and the way it went, obviously, it was close back and forth the whole game. And sometimes it's a game you need maybe to get over a hump. Sometimes instead of just blowing, I obviously want to blow somebody up, but if you can't blow them out, the back and forth games help too. Just because you're going to get in those situations again at some point in the season, so it's always good to have those battles. But the defense was obviously non-existent at all. Like, I feel like some games is at least existing a little bit. This was non-existent at all. It was just back and forth, running gun, just shooting shots.
Well, the problem is, and I reflect back on something Coach Close, who was a really good defensive coach in his day, and it still would be if he was still coaching. What he's talked about in the past, like you can easily evaluate your team's defensive performance by looking at how many layups and open threes you're giving up. That's all Iowa gave up. Like everything they gave up was either an open corner three or an easy drive to the cup. And on misses, what do we have? We had offensive rebounds for the game. Akpara had 14 points, 8 rebounds.
They had 13 as a team for offensive rebounds. That's
13 offensive rebounds.
That's always something you want to keep. Obviously, you don't really want to get it past 7 or 6, but you definitely want to keep it under 10.
Brandon, I called this. I was asked during the game what I thought attendance was, and I said something like 9.5. And I think that was actually pretty accurate. I'm just shocked by the level of, or the lack thereof as it relates to student attendance. But I
don't know what the issue is. I wish we kind of knew what the issue was. Obviously, Casino tomorrow. It's at Maryland, right? The women's game?
Yes, that's at Maryland.
It's still a better percentage, obviously, just because of Caitlin, but in Maryland's not that bad. But for me, I feel like the free throws, too, obviously, won you this game. As close as it is, you missed 4 of them, and you shot 22 of them. So 18 of 22 is a good percentage, especially in a game like this. And I think you always pretty much take 81% of the team from the line, almost 82% from the team as the line.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to do as deep of a dive into the box score as I normally would like, but if you're plus 9%, or excuse me, plus 10% with field goal percentage, you ought to be winning every single game. But again, the problem is when you give up the number of offensive boards they gave up in the second half, and I would turn the ball over 9 times, above their average for the year. But honestly, like I'm looking through the stat sheet, and I'm just like, well, they only made 3 threes. Iowa is playing so much more with.
They only shot 10. They only shot 10 too, which is something I think that is kind of less. Like, they shoot a lot usually. Only shooting 10 is something they got to the rack a lot today and took a lot of mid-range shots.
Yeah, but here's the thing, James. Like remember how with Chris Murray last year, and even though Philip Brada didn't shoot threes, that team last year was so dependent on the three.
Yeah, this team doesn't seem.
That's one thing that I think it's clear this coaching staff, and that starts with Fran, has really made a concerted effort. And granted, they've got guys like Freeman and Cricky and Dembele, but they have made a concerted effort to not be as reliant on the three. They score a lot in the mid-range. They make an effort to get the ball down low. And I think that's going to help them because they don't have, they've got good 3-point shooters.
Yeah.
But the way they played offensively down the stretch last year, living and dying by the three is not a recipe for success.
I was going to say, I feel like it's also personnel. And like TP being your best player, he's like, okay, 3-point shooter, but he's not a great 3-point shooter. He's consistent, but he doesn't look for a 3-point shot. The only guys that really hunt the 3-point shot, I feel like, is Sanford and Dick sometimes. Dick knows when he gets a shot, when he needs to, but it's also like those 2 guys are the 3-point guys. The rest of them, like Bowen plays, Brock Harding, they play. Brock Harding will shoot some here and there, but they're not known for the 3-point shot, if you get what I'm saying. I feel like it's personnel more this year than it was the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think they've got guys who can shoot that aren't confident right now. Price has no confidence with his shot, it appears to me. Patrick does not have confidence as a 3-point shot. So hopefully this is a team that, especially if they can keep winning, and even if you're winning close games and they're ugly. Tonight was ugly. This was by no means a pretty performance. But if you can win games and give yourself a chance to make the tournament come March, then hopefully guys like Price and Patrick will start making shots at the right time. We've even seen Lodgy make a 3 or 2 earlier in the year. He's got no confidence from outside right now, although he loves to shoot. But so, I mean, I think that's the hope. It gives you a chance, and they're not gonna be able to win much in March, only making 3 threes. It's just the name of the game. But it is encouraging to see them find a way to win, even when the 3-point shots.
My biggest question I had was, what do you think about Lodgy being the 6th man? He played 20 minutes, that's the most out of anybody on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, Lodgy, I give the guy credit. He's really raw, but he does attack the glass. He's not afraid to play. And I've been critical of him. I think he needs to go up stronger. I think there's several guys in this team that you could say that about. I think a lot of these guys would do well to watch Tony Perkins, just watch tape of Tony Perkins and how he attacks the rim. And I understand not everybody can be like him, but Lodgy's got a lot of upside. I mean, I made the comment early, was it November, that if there's anybody in that freshman class that makes me think NBA more than anyone else, it's not Owen, it's Lodgy, because of Lodgy's ability to stretch the floor. We haven't seen that as much lately. He's got great athleticism, but I just thought his rebounding was key. And like I said, down the stretch, he didn't play as much as he did in that first half. He had, for the game, let's see, Lodgy, 6 boards, but all 6 of those were notable and big. I'm guessing at least 5 of those came in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, 6 is up there with one of the top totals. I mean, Perkins has 7, Freeman has 6, so he's up there top, tied for second most rebounds in the game. So I feel like there's something you always can't hunt. I do agree with that. I feel like he has the most upside because I feel like he's more. I feel like Owen's he has more. Owen can grow too, but I feel like Lodgy has a lot more room to grow, if that makes sense. Like I feel like Owen what he's going to bring. Lodgy has a lot more room to become something better. I feel like, not saying better than Owen, but like become better than what he is.
They've got a chance. Yeah. They need all these guys down the stretch, and I know you're talking even more so in the future. They need all these guys' skill sets. I give Fran credit for this. They've built this team. It's more balanced than I would have ever expected it to be as far as skill sets are concerned. They've got guys who you view as knockdown 3-point shooters: Peyton, Price, Dix. Now, not all of those guys are raining threes right now, but they have those pieces. You have a couple of pieces inside in Cricky and Freeman and Dembele. And then you have the guys that can handle the ball in Dix and Perkins and Bowen. Again, there's some confidence lacking in there. You haven't gotten Patrick McCaffrey going in a while. I thought Cricky played better in that first half, but he still seems to be in a bit of a funk. He was 4 of 9, 8 points on the night. And Freeman's still struggling to defend without fouling. But I'm just looking through the stat sheet. I wish we'd see more from Desante Bowen. I was surprised we saw Brock Harding late in the game. Didn't play at all in the first half. Got 3 big minutes late. And, Price Sanford's not giving him anything right now. I mean, he just goose egg everywhere. Took one foul, and that's it. Played 5 minutes, accumulated no other stats. He was -1. So,
there's one more thing you kind of brought up for me before I get off here is the minutes. I feel like have kind of been weird, and maybe that doesn't give some people their and obviously I know you have to earn minutes, right? I understand the earn minutes part. Like as a coach, definitely understand you have to earn minutes, and your play sometimes can affect your minutes, right? But I feel like for some people, especially younger guys like a Brock or a Price, because they're freshmen, I think it might affect them a little bit more. Like, I only play 2 minutes this game, or I play 10 minutes this game, especially the freshmen still trying to get their legs under them, if that makes sense. Like at that level.
Yeah, and keep in mind, as we go down the stretch of the season, we're seeing Lisa Bluter do it. I think you're going to see, barring injury, you're going to see a tighter lineup regardless. My big fear right now with rotation is that you're going to lose Desante to the portal.
And I don't disagree with that, but.
James, I appreciate you calling in as always, sir. And I did see your comment about asking if I was alive. So I
was just making sure you were good. I could have just message you, make sure you're good, but.
Carver traffic, man.
Yeah, I know how it is sometimes, but enjoy your night, and hopefully we can get another one tomorrow. Maryland's always tough, so.
Appreciate it, James. Thank you. Doug with the super chat. Fun game. Good crowd despite being under 10K. Driving can't call, but very happy for PMAC. 1 down, 2 more wins to put them 7-6 in the Big Ten. Absolutely. So they are 5-6. You lost today. Have been 4-7. Had to have this win. And they've got winnable games in front of them. Appreciate the super chat, Doug. It does mean a lot, so thank you for that. Again, RTI Threads, if you haven't checked out their website, do it now. Support NIL. I know a lot of people are supporting the Swarm. I saw some Swarm t-shirts at the game tonight, but another way you can do that is by buying Hawkeye apparel through RTI Threads and also Cooper DeJean's official merchandise over at cd3lacesup.com. That's rtithreads.com and cd3lacesup.com. As I mentioned earlier, maybe I didn't mention this earlier. I've been promoting it for a while now. If you're not subscribed to our Facebook page, please be sure to do that. In fact, you don't really subscribe. You follow, you like. Very simple. The link is in our description. Please do that. It is appreciated. All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. We've got the other Cory here. Cory, welcome.
Hello. How's it going tonight?
Doing good, sir. How are you?
Good. How was the game? I guess how was the attendance is what I was saying. It seemed like it was all right.
It was
better than.
I mean, relative to what? Relative to what?
The average, I would suppose.
I haven't been. This is my first time in Carver.
I didn't know if it was or not.
Here's what I'll say, and I like your punting as winning shirt. Here's what I'll say.
Thank you.
as it relates to comparing, and I know some people say, you complain about anything, Cory.
Yeah.
Not you, me. You compare this to like other games I've been to this year, like going to Hilton to watch Iowa State, going to Creighton to watch Iowa Creighton. What I saw from an environment perspective at Carver tonight was pathetic.
Yeah.
But now here's what I'll say. The people that are there are engaged.
Well, that's good.
But you don't have students coming out to these games.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people who have bought seats that aren't showing up. A lot of tickets on the secondary marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Tickets are dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the answer is other than I don't think Fran connects real well with the student body or the older fans.
Okay.
And I think fans are fed up with not seeing second weekend of March. I know that sounds like simplifying. I don't think the women, like Caitlin Clark is incredible, but if she, even with how great she is, if they hadn't made that run last year in March, I would almost guess they wouldn't have sold out every game even at home. I don't think they would have.
I do have a question. I mean, it is subjective, but do you think the team is, I mean, as far as selling tickets, I guess, but do you think they're fun to watch? Because I think they're fun to watch.
I think they're fun to watch. I think.
I mean, just subjectively, I mean, I tend to enjoy watching them. I mean, their defense isn't always fantastic, but I would say entertainment-wise, they're fun to watch.
I would say they're fun to watch, but I would also say that it's not fun to watch no defense. Like
no,
and I think here's the other part of this. You know, this is kind of a crazy statement, but I'll make it because I think there's some truth to it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of carryover fans. Like there's not a ton of Iowa basketball fans that are not Iowa football fans. Like Cory, you watch every football game in the fall?
It really varies for me, but I try to. to.
Well, I think most fans that are there for the Iowa basketball games, they're also huge Iowa football fans. Mm-hmm. I don't think it helps because Iowa fans are so invested in football and they've seen such an imbalanced attack for the football team as it relates to offense versus defense for so many years that once you get through another football season where your offense is absolutely putrid, you don't want to see that lack of balance on the basketball court. And it's exactly what you have. If you have literally the opposite of what you have in football, you have offense and no defense. And it's this way year after year. Like I made the comment again today during the game. I can't believe I'm saying this, but they cannot get a stop. And I say that because I say it every year against the same teams. I was at this game last year and Iowa beat Ohio State, but it was also a barn burner. And you win, you win. That's great. But had they lost this game, say Tony doesn't come in there and make that play at the end and somehow whatever Akpara kicks the ball out for a three and they nail a three and win this game, we're coming on here talking about how pitiful that defense is, not how great Tony Perkins was or Patrick McCaffrey. So that's the problem. You can win when you win this way. Fans are happy. The problem is they haven't won into March, and so there's people with the imbalanced attack or unbalanced attack. I think that's my theory, at least.
I say I'm so over like the NFL. Me and my friend actually got tickets for next weekend, so we're gonna go to the game. And Super Bowl Sunday, will people show up? I still think we'll have a good time, and we're gonna make the best of it. But it was just one of those things I had a question about, right off the bat. And I mean, would you say that the team is like individual, at least players wise, are making improvements? Because it seems like Tony's getting better every week. Dix is getting better every week. There are key pieces getting better week by week.
I think Dix was good. Yeah, I think it's a positive way of looking. I think Dix was playing really well 2 weeks ago. I thought that stretch of 2 or 3 games where he put up 18 to 20 points, that was his best basketball I've seen him play. He was aggressive, attacked the rim, shooting threes, but he seems to be a little bit more comfortable pulling from deep. Mm-hmm. You know, the more I think back to what Gary said the other night on the show about Patrick, the more I think he's just right. Like, I know a lot of fans don't want to see Patrick, but he does. Like, he's a skilled kid.
Well, and he brings size too that they need sometimes. They need
him in the full court press, but they also need his ability to knock down threes because early in the year he was one of their better 3-point shooters, and right now he's got no confidence. If they're going to do anything in March, they probably need all those guys to hit. So if you're Fran, you can't give up on him. No. But I do think you're right about Tony. Tony is as assertive as I've ever seen him. He's demanding the ball. I think he needs to demand the ball a little bit more.
Yeah.
That'd be my one thing. I think Dix is playing better. I think the freshmen are really struggling right now, all of them. I think honestly, the guy who's maybe struggling the least is Lodgy, and because Lodgy's not as dependent on scoring. But Brock only saw 2 minutes. Price saw 4. Again, a bunch of goose eggs in the box score. Owen Freeman's going to affect the game, but he just struggles to stay out of foul trouble right now, and that's a freshman learning experience.
Yeah, that's growing pains as far as he goes. Absolutely. I mean, you're just going to have to live and die with that, I think. But I mean, I think he'll make progress as the thing goes on. And I'll leave with this. I got some beef with Peacock. I got some beef.
You got some beef with Peacock.
I got some beef with Peacock. I don't like it whatsoever. As somebody that's like, I would say a bit on the nerdy side and likes, that kind of.
Hold on a second. Was the game on Peacock tonight?
No, it wasn't. It was. I think I wanted to watch the women's game last whatever night that was.
Okay.
And I think the quality is awful. I think the layout sucks. I think the options are poor.
What's wrong with the quality? Hold on. What's wrong with I saw you ripping Peacock the other day in the chat. What's wrong with the quality?
It's just I feel like it goes in and out too much. Like
that's because you got janky internet service.
I don't. But
I haven't had any issues with Peacock. You sure the dog's not chewing on cables?
No.
I haven't had any issues with service going in and out.
No. I just prefer, like, I don't know if it's an OCD thing or what, but like the layout, the options, like the movies and TVs aren't like the options aren't good enough for me to like want to buy into it. And I don't care how low the price is. It's just I don't know. And then the quality, it feels like could be better.
Let me ask you this: do you need me to send you $8 to cover the last 2 months of the? Because I'll do it. I'll do it. You give so I'll send you $8. That's
no, and I don't know. I just like, and then when I tried to cancel it, I think I did it to watch the football game when they played Northwestern because I was like, okay, whatever, I'll give it a shot. They make it so hard to find to cancel it. It's predatory. I'm not a big fan of the way that whole streaming stuff is going.
I think you are. I just think you work for Fox or CBS. I think that's what you're just trying to sabotage the fastest growing
co-op
streaming option.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. I mean, you got some more women's games on there, and Peacock's not going away. So
no, it's not. No, I'm not saying it's atrocious, but like just some of their tactics, I think I don't know. I see what they're trying to pull, and I'm not a big fan of it, but I understand it from a business standpoint. It makes total sense. Yeah. But
Cory, I appreciate you calling. Looks like Hawk's ready to call it a night. So
we had a really long day, so he is like done. He is ready to be.
Hey, have you followed the Facebook page and the Instagram and Twitter pages?
No, but I might just go do that right now.
What are you doing?
I mean, I'm not on Facebook a lot.
It doesn't matter. Oh my goodness. All right. Appreciate it, Cory. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, you have a good one. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Cory's going to rip Peacock and then not follow the Facebook page. Get on that Facebook page, folks, please, and thank you in advance. All right. Follow me at From the Hawkeye, Twitter, Instagram, From the Hawkeye the Storm on Facebook. And here's what we're going to do before we get to our next segment. Real quickly, want to, give a shout out to Tony Perkins. TP, 20.7 boards, 4 assists. We should have had Frank on this evening. Where's Frank Henderson? Frank, if you're listening, get on this show now. Again, RTI Threads player of the game. And also want to thank Iowa Smokehouse. Yes, use the code Hawkeyes at iowasmokehouse.com. Tasting is believing. Get 15% off your total order. And for every $50 order, you'll get absolutely free shipping. Support an Iowa company and get great food and snacks. iowasmokehouse.com. Meat sticks, jerky, all that good stuff. Check it out, iowasmokehouse.com.
Well. Cory had to leave to go shave, and I am his doppelganger back in his place. Please do not click off the show if you haven't already. Cory did come down tonight to attend the game with me, and my home base happens to be in Iowa City. So instead of making the 2-hour drive back, we decided to let him come and chill here for postgame. He's heading out right now. So please do not head out if you haven't already. Again, we will still be here taking calls, taking chats, and talking Iowa hoops for at least the next 30 to 45 minutes. Let me get set up here. I need to get my box score in front of me. Very interesting night in a lot of ways. Very much, I'm sure, as Cory has reiterated, a do-or-die game tonight for the Hawkeyes, as they are really getting towards the meat of the Big Ten season here. Getting to that do-or-die time where if they don't really make a push towards the end of the season, they are going to be watching from their couches here in March. Very, very interesting, interestingly coached game by Fran McCaffrey and the Hawkeyes. Very interesting to see Patrick get such a long run in the first half and then be put in kind of inexplicably in the second half. He did pay off that faith by making the 4 free throws. Patrick actually 8 of 8 from the line tonight. Very impressive. Tony Perkins also 8 of 9. The one he did miss was potentially consequential in the last couple of minutes, but did not end up being the difference. I'm sure a lot of people pointed out as well, the 3-point attempts very, very low for Iowa tonight and have been recently, just 10. And that's a trend that they've shown across the year. It hasn't always been that low, but middle of the teens, very common for this team. Peyton Sanford actually took 6 of the 10 threes. Josh Dix took 2 more. Tony Perkins 1. Patrick McCaffrey 1. But nobody else on the team took a single 3-point shot. Hawkeyes got killed on the offensive glass. It felt like it actually didn't end up being quite the massacre we thought it would be. Okpara, not sure if that's how you say the name. Okpara dominated the Hawkeyes inside, 7 offensive rebounds, which felt like backbreakers every single time. And that final one almost was a backbreaker as he got the rebound with about 2 seconds left on the missed free throw. So good survival by the Hawkeyes. Good job to make it through this game. They've got a number of winnable games as they come down the stretch here. This Big Ten is not deep. It is not a good conference for what we're used to. Playing a road game at Penn State now. They've got 5 days off before they go to Penn State to play that game. Then they host Minnesota, who's very average. And then they play at Maryland, chance to get some revenge for the home loss that they suffered just a couple weeks ago, or just over a week ago. Before they host Wisconsin, go to Michigan State, and go to Illinois in a pretty tough 3-game stretch. So next 3 games going to be very important. Need to win at least 2 of the 3, in my opinion, in order to feel good about their Big Ten chances. But we'll see this conference. I think Cory has a little bit more confidence in the Big Ten than I do this year. He seems to think 11-9 might sneak you into the tournament with a solid tournament performance. I think I think with the quality of this conference, you got to get in at you got to get 12-8 in conference play to get in, especially considering that their only real good non-conference win is Seton Hall, and that's still quad 2 as far as I'm aware. So 5-6 in Big Ten play. If they could win 2 of the next 3, that would put them at that 7-7 marker with 6 games to go. They could go 4-2 the rest of the way and probably still make it. I will say I did I did listen in for the last caller, Cory, and I will say if Cory Brada disagrees, that's fine. Peacock is meh, and I'll stand by it, as Corey Anderson beautifully says. I could not agree more. All right, let's go ahead and get to Ryan here. Ryan, how we doing tonight?
How are you doing tonight? I almost called you Cory.
I know.
Kyle.
Little halftime timeout and a substitution.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Cory here.
we're real lucky. I think Middleton's his name. We're lucky he wasn't playing. I'm what I liked about tonight was he actually showed a little bit of mental toughness at the end. I was just waiting for us to fold. And, ironically, this morning, I was thinking Connor was one of the stronger, mentally tough players we've had over the years.
Yeah.
And I was saying, ironically, Patrick is one of the weaker, mentally tough players we've had over the year. And to his credit, he proved that statement wrong tonight for sure with his medal at the free throw line, showing mental toughness. So good on him.
Very impressive. And by the way, I am one of those people that, I've kind of been looking at the schedule and thinking, man, we've only got 8 games left or 10 games left in Big Ten play. Like we're running out of time for Patrick to get some mojo going here. But to Fran's credit, that is the kind of moment that could turn his season around. Because I'm not going to lie, those 4 free throws, and you don't make 4 clutch free throws on accident, first of all. But, every time he got fouled, he was, he marched to the free throw line and he was ready to go. And he looked confident. He actually, I was surprised. He actually looked more confident than Peyton Sandford did when he stepped up. And I know, maybe that's me being influenced by the fact that Peyton missed one, but Peyton did not look as sturdy at the free throw line as Patrick did. And that really surprised me.
I agree. I want to get into the schedule in a minute here, but first, if we are going to get to 12-8, and I think that's going to be quite the long shot.
Yeah.
It's possible, but if we're going to avoid the NIT or worse, few things have to happen. Number one, we got to get consistency out of Ben Krikke. He really looked like he was going to be, one of our best players, and he's really fallen off. And Owen has got to stay out of foul trouble and be the dominant force underneath that we got to have. Because I think you're getting very quality play from Perkins. You're getting very quality play from Sandford for the most part, especially lately. Josh Dix has really come on. Now, Dix shot real well today. He really had a whole bunch of zeros everywhere else, no rebounds. I'm looking at the box score real quick. Yeah, he had 1 assist, no rebounds, 1 turnover. But he was 7 of 10. If you would have told me we would only make 3 3-pointers tonight, I'd say we're done. And then we shot 55% from the field, only going 3 of 10 from 3. It was just an odd game like that, a very odd game, where you didn't get much out of Owen Freeman. Laji did give you 3 offensive rebounds and 6 total rebounds. I thought he played real well. He's going to be a good one for us over time.
Yeah.
Now, we're 5-6. You got App State followed by Minnesota at home. Let's call that 7-6. at Maryland. Do we win that one? It's winnable. What do you
It's
say?
winnable, but it's. I mean, I'm not. I did not like how they closed that Maryland game out for a number of reasons. It's just tough because, and I'll say something too that's slightly unrelated, but I just feel like watching this team. This is the first time that I felt this way in a couple of years, where I really feel like the whole of this Iowa team is not as good as the sum of the parts. I think this is the first year that I felt that way in a few years.
You know, it's funny because 2 or 3 times earlier this season, before we got into Big Ten play with Gary Close I made that exact comment to Cory. I said, I feel like individually we have a lot of good individual players, but the whole is not as good as the sum of its parts.
Yeah. Peyton, I mean, you look down this stat sheet. Like, you've got Owen Freeman, who is the best freshman in the Big Ten this year, like undoubtedly. You've got Ben Krikke, who's a very solid portal addition. I mean, he's not a world beater, but he's a solid portal addition, and he comes from a small school, so he has his athletic limitations as a center, and you have to live with that. But
a 5th-year player who has a lot of experience.
Yeah, a veteran. You got Peyton Sanford, who recently has been playing the best ball of his career, pretty much.
3-year player.
And yeah, he's an experienced player. I mean, he's out there. I don't know how much the TV cameras picked up on this, but this is one of the great things about going to the game is you can see who calls the shots on the team.
Yeah.
So you've got the coach, obviously, but then you've got coaches on the floor, and it's cool to be there to see. I mean, Peyton Sanford is the coach on the floor for this team by the looks of it. And now
he learned from Connor.
Yeah, yes, he inherited that role from Connor. But Peyton's a very solid player. Josh is a nice player. Tony might be. Is he second team All Big Ten this year? I don't know, but he's certainly an all conference caliber player. And then you look at the bench, you've got Patrick McCaffrey, who has really struggled, but should be better than he is at this point.
5th-year player.
Yeah, 5th-year player who has had some 15, 20-point Big Ten games. You've got DeSante Bowen, who was a very nice combo scoring guard in high school. I mean, he just hasn't been given the opportunity, in my opinion. He gets 5 minutes tonight. And then you've got guys, Lodgy. You've got I. By the way, I'll just say this: I'm a lot higher on Lodgy Dembele than Cory is. Cory, I made the comment tonight at the game that I thought that I said Lodgy's rough around the edges, but he's got some game. I think in 3 years he'll be. I think he'll be a player for this team. And Cory said, yeah, emphasis on the rough around the edges. So, but. I look at this team and they've got two very solid bona fide players in Sanford and Perkins, and they've got a nice slate of complementary pieces. This team should be better than they are, and they don't play defense. That's the first issue, and they don't rebound very well because you've got Owen, and I love Owen. I love watching him play. I think he's got a great future at Iowa. He got pushed around a little bit tonight inside. And Krikke has athletic limitations, so they don't play defense, they don't rebound, and as good as they are offensively, they shot 55% from the floor tonight. They don't shoot a lot of 3-pointers, so like tonight, I thought the shot making on the team tonight they shot the ball fantastic from the mid range, from Dix to Sanford made a couple, Perkins made a few, Peyton made a couple threes. I mean, the shot making from mid range was fantastic, but when you don't make 8, 9, 10 threes, it's just hard to get to 85, 90 points. It's hard. Like the fact that they even won this game, I mean, they got out. I know they outshot Ohio State by 10+% or 9%, but they got outscored by 12 at the 3-point line. How many games do you think, looking back, has Iowa won getting outscored by 12 at the 3-point line? Not very many. And
I don't know what's happened.
Yeah, it's almost never happened where they've won games getting outscored at all at the 3-point line. And Ohio State only took 16 attempts to make 7. They shot the ball really, really well tonight, especially coming out of the gates. I was worried coming out of the gates because we know a lot of players like to have career games against Iowa shooting the ball, and they came out and they made their first 3 or 4 in a row. But it's tough because you've got some of those critical flaws, but at the same time, I look up and down the stat sheet at the box score every night, and I think, man, this guy, like Tony's good, Peyton's good, Owen and Ben are serviceable down low. Josh is a good 2-guard to have to come off the bench or to be a fringe starter, and then you've got Lodgy and Patrick and DeSante, and like they have some players, but it just doesn't feel like it's merged yet. And maybe they'll find it. Maybe that's reason for hope. Maybe that's reason for optimism coming down the stretch. Because if they can put it all together, I think this team can be a tournament team. I'm not going to go any further than that because I think it's irresponsible to go any further than that when they're 13-9. But this could be a tournament team. This could be a team that wins 12 Big Ten games. I'm just waiting for them to figure it out. And it's difficult because you've got a game like that at Maryland. Maryland's 5-5 in conference play, including the road win over Iowa. You know, Iowa takes care of business in that game. Maryland's a sub 500 Big Ten team, and they're only 12-9 overall if they lose that game. So Maryland's not very good, but they haven't merged to the point where you can trust them. That's just
yeah. What's hard for me too is just we got, I think on paper we should be a tournament team on paper, especially in the weakest Big Ten I think we've had in a decade.
Yeah,
you know, we survived Big Tens that were complete juggernauts. They got
absolutely
10-11 into the tournament.
Go back and look at the Big Ten conference and specifically the bigs that were in the conference when Luka Garza was in the conference.
Exactly.
And then
Kofi
Coburn, you know, Trace Jackson Davis. I know we didn't like him that much, but like
there's 1,000 Purdue 7-footers, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, we don't like playing against Purdue now with just Zach Edey. Go back when Zach Edey was a freshman and a sophomore. And they had that guy called Davion Williams and
Travion Williams.
Or Travion Williams, sorry, not Davion. Travion Williams.
Yep.
Those two together were scary.
Well,
Travion
and
was a player.
the late great what was his name? Biggie Swanigan right before him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like 6'10", but I mean, he had a build of a brick, you know what house. So I mean, it was I think 10-10 is about where we're going to end up. Illinois on the road, Illinois at home, with Shannon back, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's going to be awfully tough. I'll be at the Wisconsin game at home. We always struggle with the Badgers because they play defense. Now, here's a question you may or may not get. Who's dead last in the Big Ten in total defense right now in terms of points given up?
Man, that's tough. I mean, Iowa's a bad defensive team that also plays fast, so Iowa's going to be down towards the bottom. I don't know. I haven't been able to watch enough Big Ten basketball, to be perfectly honest, to put that on somebody else except for maybe Michigan.
Michigan's second worst. We're the worst.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, maybe you don't need to watch a lot of Big Ten basketball.
And my reason I bring that up is when you do still have the best freshman in the country notwithstanding, you still have, 4 or 5 guys who are very experienced. You would think when you got a senior-laden team, you would at least be able to rise into the closer to middle of the pack.
Yeah.
And when you're still dead last, that for me is what's just so incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
It comes down to coaching at that point.
Yeah.
And not that I want to see ladder ball. We actually had pretty good defense back in those days, but the offense was so terrible. I would just love to see Iowa get to a point where, you know, we can consistently win 75-62 or something like that. But that's me.
They shouldn't have to score 75, 80 points to win every single night. And
no, they have to, though. Yeah.
It's in a lot of ways, it's the same problem that plagues the football team, just in reverse. I know we've gone over this so many times, but like, they don't have to be a good defensive team. They just don't. They have to be serviceable. That's all they have to be. And really tonight, to be honest with you, they didn't even need to play great defense. They just needed to rebound. That's all they needed to do. If they secured rebounds, and I'm going to go back and look at this box score here because Ohio State had to get 10 points off second chance points. But
They beat us 30-28 total, which was a shock to me because it felt like they out rebounded us by 10.
We got crushed. I'd say the only reason why that margin wasn't wider is because Iowa shot 55% from the field. It didn't give them as many defensive rebounds, but I mean they got. You cannot give up 13 offensive rebounds. Does not say points, second chance points on the box score that I have. Let me see here if I can get an official university box score. I don't know that I'll be able to. But it felt like they gave up. It felt like they gave up a lot of second chance points off of those 13. It means even say they gave up 50% shooting on those 13. You're talking maybe 14 to 16 points on second chance points, and then it's not even a game. I mean, if Ohio State gets 6 second chance points or 4 second chance points in this game's not close.
And that's not a good team that we were playing, especially without Middleton. So
yeah, no, it's a bad team minus a couple key contributors. It's just it's not a good team. And by the way, I don't know if Cory mentioned this. I didn't watch every second of the second of the first couple of minutes of the show there. What on earth has happened to Zed Key? Was he not supposed to be a key contributor for Ohio State like a couple years ago? And he's now a senior, and he
got 3 minutes.
He got 3 minutes in this that blows my mind. I mean, I'm going to go back and pull up his career numbers.
He's averaging 8 points and 5 rebounds a season.
Yeah, he averaged last year he averaged 11 and 8 last year on 11 and 8 on 55% shooting and 25 minutes a night. And he can't even get 17 minutes a night now.
Maybe there's some other circumstances going on that we don't know about, but
yeah, it's just hard for me to believe that they're struggling as much as they are.
And not using a guy like that.
Not using a guy like that. There's got to be.
I actually was thinking he was out, not playing, and then he got into the game, and I'm like, wait a minute, where is this guy? So yeah, very, very surprising. Very surprising. Well, tomorrow, are you going to be on tomorrow? Got an exciting one on prime time tomorrow.
Yes, Cory will definitely be live. We'll see if he has a co-host lined up. I usually try to hop in whenever he doesn't have somebody lined up that's more credible in basketball than I am. But if he doesn't have anybody lined up, then I will try to join him.
Well, sure. I hope he doesn't cut himself shaving. He's been working at it for a long time.
It's been 3 weeks to a month, right?
Oh no, I thought you said he just left to go shave.
Yeah. Well, he grows it back fast. It'll be back by tomorrow.
Sounds good. Good.
One more question before you go. Justin says, if that isn't the real Cory Brada, do we know if that's the real Ryan?
No. I change my name every now and then. Tomorrow I'll probably call in under an alias.
I was going to say, will you call in tomorrow to verify your identity?
Tomorrow, yeah. I might be Vincent tomorrow.
Well, we hope you join us tomorrow. It will be a very exciting game. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the bottom line is the Iowa women are a fantastic team, and it's always a treat to watch great teams get tested. And that's I hope that's what happens. I hope they get tested because I want to see what they're made of. So it's
I'm hoping for a blowout because the Iowa women have never won at Maryland.
Really?
Nope.
That'd be hard to. Wow.
Blew their doors off in Minneapolis in the tournament, but never won at Maryland. So.
Well, they blew everyone's doors off in Minneapolis, right?
And even Ohio State, yeah.
I was thinking about that Big Ten championship game as we were watching the game in Columbus there not too long ago. I was thinking, man, how much basketball can change from game to game that we beat this team by 35, and there's a couple different players, but for the most part, the same teams, and then we go to Columbus and lose.
Well, both our losses were winnable. At least we got some revenge on Kansas State, and we'll have our chance with Ohio State. But it's going to be a big tomorrow. It's on the big stage. Gus Johnson will be there doing the game, so I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yep.
I just never thought I would get more excited about women's basketball than men's basketball, but that's where I'm at right now. I'm a much bigger fan right now. And my parents have been season ticket holders since 1983 of the men. So
Yeah.
I've been going to Carver since I was in like second grade.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible. The movement that they've created around that team and the momentum that they have as a program it's special. And I'm you know, I kind of I kind of took the Luka Garza era for granted. I was very, very appreciative of Luka. He's probably my favorite men's basketball player ever. But I will say when that era was over, I kind of looked up and went, man, I don't really quite understand what I just watched. And I need to, it took me a while for it to sink in, like, man, this Luka Garza guy was something else. Like, and I'm trying really hard to not do that with Caitlin, because we are going to look back. I mean, Caitlin Clark is somebody that we're going to tell kids and kids of kids. And, those people are going to hear about Caitlin Clark.
Well, when Megan Gustafson finished with over 2804,
yeah,
Luka finished at 2306. And I remember thinking, wow, she finished 500 points more than Luka. Will never get broken in my lifetime. And I mean, it was broken like almost immediately. So, yeah, we'll never see another Caitlin. I mean, that just isn't happening. My hope is we have an outstanding recruiting class coming in. It won't be quite so much a one-player show. It'll definitely be a little more balanced, but I think this is a program that's going to be great for years to come.
Yeah, I think so too. And they've shown, I think the thing that they've shown is, regardless of whether Caitlin's there or not, what they've done is they've uncovered the enthusiasm that Iowa has for women's basketball. And it's not just Iowa, by the way. It's Iowa, it's Drake, it's Iowa State, it's UNI, it's all of them. And the fact that they've been able to kind of put that on full display over the last couple of years, I think is going to help all four teams recruit in the state for years to come. And I think that's a really great thing. I mean, they can look at this program and Carver Hawkeye for those women's games, and they know they're not showing up to, you might show up to a Rutgers women's basketball game and there's 1,000 people there. That is not for at least the next 5 years. Now, if Caitlin leaves and they just fall apart, maybe after a few years, it'll go back to being kind of meh. Cause I remember, early 2010s when I started going to games, or late 2000s, like it was not what it is now.
Oh no.
But it's
going to, Machine Alexander was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's going to take years to get back to that point. It's going to take years of bad basketball for them to undo what's been done. There's going to be 3 to 5 years of kind of enthusiasm rollover from Caitlin. And if they continue to get good players, and they've got great recruiting classes, they've got multiple 4-star players that look very nice. Those players can look at that program and they can go, man, we might not be, contending for national championships every year, because no one can guarantee that. But we're going to have a supportive fan base behind us that knows the game, is knowledgeable about the game, and appreciates the game. And I think that's great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Kashin even said that the fan base was one of the reasons she came. And that was before it was anything close to what it is today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and it's great to have her and other people that we've got lined up to contribute on the show. Their contributions and their time are always very much.
Well, I hope to get to talk to you tomorrow, Kyle, and hopefully Cory isn't in any peril. He's at your house, I assume.
The reason why I took over is because he wanted to do a quick half hour here, and then he wanted to hit the road because he's got 2.5 hours to go back to Ames.
Oh, he's going home. Gotcha.
Yeah, so I just took over to let him hit the road. So
awesome. Well, you have a good evening, and thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely, sir.
Talk to you tomorrow, man.
We will talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Bye. Always good to talk to Ryan. Good to have him on. Let's go through some comments here. Kind of gotten behind on that. Where is Cory? Well, sports news. I'm sorry you're out of luck tonight. Cory was on for the first 30 to 45 minutes. He did come to Iowa City to go to the game tonight. My home base happens to be in Iowa City. I'm very lucky to be a resident of Iowa City, so he came over and set up the show here and got it started. But he wanted to hit the road to get back to Ames, as I said, so he kindly let me take over and finish up. as he hits the road. Cyhawk C Money says, tune into that Caitlin cam. That is going to be very interesting. So in case anybody has not heard, I think it's through, is it through TikTok? Let me just confirm this. Caitlin cam. I know Fox was debuting it. Yep, streamed live on TikTok throughout the game. Basically what's going to happen is for the rest, or for at least the next couple of games, there's going to be a camera following. Caitlin Clark on every offensive possession, and then on defense it'll switch to normal coverage. And when she's on the bench, it'll also be normal coverage. But in my opinion, a little bit obsessive. But I mean, this is the type of thing that you get when you have essentially the female college Michael Jordan on your team, or Steph Curry, or whatever your comparison. Whatever your comparison wants to be. Jeffrey says, Clark is taking up the Carver oxygen right now. The men are second choice. I couldn't agree more. The gravity that she has in that building in this state right now is something special. I mean, it's never going to be recreated. It's something that is just so special what they have going. Dennis says, Iowa leads the country in assists to turnover ratio. That would indicate they are quite a cohesive team who can play fast, share the ball, and take care of the basketball. Very, very important stat. Something that Connor McCaffrey did very well throughout his career. I believe he had a career assist to turnover ratio of over 3, close to 3.5. I could be wrong on that, but that was always something that he was very good at and very important for a team in general. Can show a couple things. Obviously that they're taking care of the ball, but also that they're swinging the ball. I think their ball movement is pretty good right now. I don't think their ball movement's bad at all. The passes out to 3-point shooters, I think, is not wonderful, and it's weird to see. Even Peyton's 6 attempts tonight, very rare that he gets a clean catch and shoot attempt, which is a little bit different than what we're used to seeing. I think a lot of times we're kind of used to seeing somebody dribble penetrate and kick out to the short corner, to the wing, for more open looks. But it seems like a lot of their shots are kind of running off screens now, or off the dribble, or etc. Esther said, Kyle, what are your thoughts on the turnover towards the end of the game tonight? Do you think the Hawks need more control of the ball so that doesn't happen? Well, Cory was sitting next to me throughout the game, and he made the comment, and I couldn't agree more, that Tony Perkins is the one that I trust with the basketball in his hands late in the game. And I agree with that. I think there are some players on the team I'm a little bit skeptical of in those moments. Certainly Patrick proved that he can step up and hit the free throws tonight. I would say, as far as ball handling, I would not put him at the top of my list. Same with Peyton Sanford, actually. Peyton's been a little bit shaky at times. I think Josh Dix, he has more to prove, but I think he's a little bit better in those moments from what I've seen. But I think that's all about knowing your personnel and knowing who to get the ball to in those moments. And coaching is just such a big part of those moments. Drawing up inbounds plays to just get somebody to catch the ball and get to the free throw line is really, really important in those moments. Ryan, who was just on, says, who has NIT fever? Well, let's hope none of us do. I'm afraid that's likely where they're headed. Not for sure yet, but we'll see how they finish the season. Rick says that was one of the best games Laji has played. I agree. I think Laji has great potential. I think he's an athletic player. I think he just needs to have some time to develop. All right, before we get to our next caller, do you want to go ahead and promote a couple of things? Support the show by signing up for a free Aura trial at www.aura.com/Hawkeyes. This is a great way to support the show. It is free, only takes you a couple of minutes, so follow that link. Make sure that when you finish submitting the trial, it'll ask you, where did you hear about us? And you have to click YouTube and then click from the Hawkeye of the Storm so that they know that we sent you. As you can also see, I am wearing the merch, so check out the merch in the description. I've got a hoodie here. But plenty of different options to choose from. So go ahead and take a look at those if you're interested. Also, as Cory has been mentioning, share the show on social media. And also go ahead and drop a follow. Let me see here if I can pull this up as well. Go ahead and follow at From the Hawkeye on Twitter and Instagram, and From the Hawkeye of the Storm on Facebook. If you're interested in finding me as well, I am at Kyle Spence Golf on Instagram and YouTube as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and get Chester into the mix here. How you doing, Chester?
What's up?
How are we doing tonight?
Hey, I just wanted to say that did you see the Iowa wrestling duel today?
I didn't. I've had people updating me on it throughout the night through a couple of group chats, but I've heard good. I've not heard good things. Did they officially lose?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, and that was against Michigan, correct?
Yeah, and they got Penn State next. They're not beating Penn State. I don't even think it'll be close.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's got to be the first time that they've lost to anybody outside of Penn State in the Big Ten in a long time, right?
Yeah, I really feel like the reason why they lost is because of all their players being gone. You know, Cassiope and Brands and Assad and Kobe Seabrick. I felt losing them really hurts.
Yeah, it's tough. It's just tough to maintain what they've done over the course of the last couple of decades. Let me just time out 1 second. Cory says it's Ben, not Chester. All right, do we have you under an alias tonight, Ben?
I don't know.
The name on my screen is Chester Copperplot. So, what'd you think of the game tonight, Ben?
I think it was a good game. Iowa hit some free throws at the end, and it was a good game. And I can't wait for the women tomorrow, and hopefully that they can get a good win on the road against Maryland.
Yeah, that'll be a really exciting game. What's Maryland ranked right now?
I think they're 17th, maybe.
Yeah, 17th. But they've been a solid program for the last several years, and going to College Park is always good when those teams are good. So yeah, that'll be, like I said, it's. The women are great. It'll be a great chance to see them get tested a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. I really felt that like, the main question for Iowa is, how can they do well on the road? For the Iowa women is how can they do well on the road against a good team, a good ranked team in the Big Ten, and I feel like that this will be a good test for them. Hopefully that they can come out with the win, and against Ohio State. I mean they should have won that game, but I mean it's really going to be a big test for them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, some of those games like the Ohio State game, I mean, they lost to a very good Ohio State team. That Ohio State team's now in the top 10. They're probably going to be a top 2 or 3 seed. Sometimes, I used to listen to a lot of stuff about some of the older NFL coaches and NBA coaches, and a lot of times even like Greg Popovich would say, like, it's really, really hard to get your team's attention when you've won 10 in a row.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes that loss. You don't ever want to take a loss that's going to kill your season or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you're kind of skating by on some bad habits, if you've won 10 straight, it's really, really hard to get your team's attention. Say, guys, we really need to clean this and this up. So sometimes those games, as painful as they are, for fans, because we have such a great women's team that we just expect them to win every game, frankly.
Yeah. Sure.
As painful as those games are, sometimes they're not the end of the world in the long haul.
Yeah. So real quick, what are your thoughts on Tim Lester?
Well, I did a show. I don't know if you caught it. I did a show right after the announcement. Cory was emotionally unavailable that night. That's the story we're going with.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, that meant that Cory had a lot going on and did not. He didn't have the emotional energy to force a 3-hour show that night. He did go live with Coach Don Patterson right after the next night, though. I will say I was skeptical at first. The bottom line is that they can't go any lower than they were.
They can't. They have to be better. If they don't, then
if the offense is not much different, then it's going to put a microscope on Kirk, because at that point, you've had your son, you've had a couple other offensive coordinators, and now you've had this guy Tim Lester, who's been a head coach at Western Michigan for 6 years and has run his own ship.
Yeah,
and it would be pretty clear at that point it'd be pretty clear at that point that he would be controlling the offense to the point of not allowing people to do their jobs, and I think that's problematic. I will say I was skeptical at first.
Mhm.
With the Syracuse numbers are putrid. There's no doubt about it. And the Western Michigan numbers are solid, but they're in the MAC, and that always, makes me a little bit skeptical, just because you don't know how that's gonna transition over. But if you go back and listen to what Coach Patterson had to say, and I respect what Coach Patterson has to say quite a bit, because obviously he's got 30, 40 years of industry experience in terms of coaching football. He was able to go back and talk to the former coach, Tim Lester's coach when he was OC, and then a couple of other people that had rubbed shoulders with him over the years, and they all said he's a fantastic coach. He's a great coach. The Syracuse numbers were bad actually one of the years, because he was down to like his 4th or 5th string quarterback. So
Yeah, and is he going to be the quarterback coach or the receivers coach, or
he is going to be the quarterback's coach. It sounds like John Budmeyer is getting promoted to the wide receivers coach. That is actually the more concerning hire for me, because John Budmeyer did not play wide receiver.
Yeah,
He's never coached wide receivers in his career. So,
yeah, that's what I was hoping too. I was hoping that Budemeyer would become the offensive coordinator and QB coach, because he played quarterback in Wisconsin. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, it's better than Brian Ferentz, but I mean, how much better is it though? That's the real thing to me.
yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, there's a possibility that they get significantly better and they rank 105th in total offense next year. I mean, that's what people are going to have to realize when they set their expectations for this team next year, because if they gain 100 yards of total offense per game next year, that barely gets them in the top 100. It might just crack the top 100 if they get 100 yards a game. I mean, that's 2 very solid drives. That's probably 10 points more in terms of total yardage.
I just really feel like that, like Iowa, like I felt that if they were to hire somebody like a QB guy instead of hiring like Brian as quarterback coach, I really feel like that like they would have more development at quarterback. I mean, because Brian didn't play quarterback and Iowa played offensive line, so I just feel like with Brian they should have had him an O-line coach in the first place, and because he played O-line at Iowa, and I just feel like that like Iowa should have brought somebody in as a guy who knows how to coach quarterbacks, like a Bodemeyer, for example. They should have like brought him in, and I feel like that. I don't know. They'd have a little bit better QB development than with Brian Ferentz coaching quarterbacks.
Yeah, I just am never a fan of. I think when you always pick somebody that played the position to coach the position. I just don't. I don't like this whole idea. I mean, especially with Brian Ferentz. I mean, he was an O lineman coaching quarterback.
Yeah,
and that just
exactly
made no sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I like hiring Ferentz, but I just wish that they would put him at the right position. He played online, so that's what he played center in Iowa. So I just feel like he'd be better at O-line. In tight ends, I'm fine with him being there because that's an O-lineman. So I mean, but yeah.
Brian was fine as a position coach, by the way. When he was coaching individual position groups, he was fine. It was when he got promoted to OC, that was the disaster.
Yeah, and I really feel like Kevin Johns was my main guy besides Budemeyer and Chris, but Chris didn't want to go, so. I really feel like Iowa missed out. I mean, I feel like Lester's good, but I mean, I prefer Kevin Johns. I just feel like he's more. I think he's a better OC.
Yeah, I think Kevin Johns probably had more in terms of experience backing him up. I will say it's interesting that those two were the finalists, considering Kevin Johns runs an air raid and Tim Lester ran a quarterback heavy RPO. And neither of those systems are even remotely close to what Kirk Ferentz ran. So I would have been interested to see, because I saw the numbers with Kevin Johns. I was hopeful that it would be Kevin Johns. I liked him. But I would have found it interesting to see what would have happened if it would have been Kevin Johns, because he throws it all over the park. I mean, and his quarterback development is good, but he throws it all over the park. And I don't know how that would have worked with Kirk Ferentz, but to be fair, I don't know how the RPO is going to jive with Kirk either.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, how Iowa does, and what's all this Proctor stuff that's been going on.
Yeah. So for people that didn't hear, we will try and get back to basketball here in a couple of minutes, because it is a basketball show. But
yeah,
Proctor was contacted by one of the Iowa assistant coaches. He went through a tough stretch at the start of his career at Alabama. And basically what happened was an Iowa assistant coach reached out to him and essentially, and I don't know exactly what the words were, but he essentially sent him a text message and said, hey, keep your head up. Basically, I know you're struggling, but you'll be fine. Just hang tough. And that didn't come to light until a couple weeks ago when Caden Proctor was actually at Carver Hawkeye and said one of the reasons why he ended up choosing Iowa was because that Iowa assistant coach reached out. Circle Kirk says the quote was "Keep your head up, buddy," and I think that is correct. So he said basically one of the reasons why was because Iowa did not burn the bridge with him when he flipped last second to go to Alabama, which they easily could have, by the way. And they reached out to him and said, hey, look, you'll be fine. And again, that message was not targeted to get Caden Proctor back. It was simply encouragement based on the relationship that assistant coach, who I assume had taken part in Proctor's recruitment. I assume that relationship led to that message, and he was just reaching out as a courtesy because it did not seem like it was targeted at him coming back. But when Proctor said that, a bunch of fans went crazy from other teams. And it kind of went around social media, and so Iowa did end up reporting, self-reporting. It's an NCAA level 3 violation, which for people that don't know, usually does not come with any suspensions or firings or any of that stuff. Basically comes with a big slap on the wrist, and sometimes I believe it comes with re-education. You maybe have to go through some kind of short class on the rules of the NCAA or whatever. But it's a class 3 violation. It's not gonna impact Proctor's eligibility or that coach's job security.
Yeah, one more football thing real quick. Do you know when Proctor is going to enroll at Iowa?
He has already enrolled. He actually enrolled before he even made his announcement, which was interesting. But
That's crazy.
One of the things that tipped people off to the fact he was coming to Iowa was you could actually look in the student directory and search for his name, and his email would come up. So he's in class right now.
Yeah. It was a great game today. I didn't watch it. I had to work, but it was overall. I think it was a great game. I really feel like Perkins is taking a big step up for sure. And for the women, I really feel like that Gabby too needs to have some big games. And I know last year she lit it up, but I just feel like this year she's just having kind of a down second half. Like last year she had a good second half, but this year she was just kind of, I don't know. She's just kind of struggling with her 3-point shot. But it was a great win. I mean, who hit the free throws at the end?
Who hit the free throws at the end?
Yeah,
of the game?
the 2 free throws.
Yeah, so Patrick hit 4 free throws, and then Tony went 1 of 2, and Peyton went 1 of 2 down the stretch. So they went a combined 6 for 8 between those 3.
Yeah, I'll see you later, man.
All right, sounds good. Have a good night.
You too.
Oh, all right. Sorry, that was an accident. Just getting switched up here. Let's go look at comments real quick. Circle Herc says, Kyle, you do a great job, great addition to the show, and very knowledgeable. Thanks for all you do. Well, Circle Herc, I try. Just filling in here for Cory while he heads on home to Ames. Circle Herc also says, Cory, if you're not going to host the show, then get out of here. The patients are running the asylum now, buddy. Well, we'll see if Cory has anything to say about that. Cory, do you have anything to say?
Oh, I didn't know sports news was off. I was just getting on to make sure you got sports news out of there. Real quick, I didn't mention this earlier, just so everybody's aware, we've got Kasheen Alexander on again tomorrow night. So,
So.
make sure we get lots of people on tomorrow night for the post game for Iowa, Maryland, because Kasheen's looking forward to it. And it's obviously a big game. So that's all I got.
All right. And what time is that tip off?
7 p.m. Fox.
7
p.m. Central.
So about 9:30 post game show.
Yep, you got it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. You hear
All
me?
right. Thank you, sir.
All right. So yep, that was Cory. Please do tune in. Great to have Kasheen come on and take her time to go on the show, and she's loved her experience so far. So let's continue to give her a good experience and show up to support her. Let's get on to Cory, our third Cory of the night. How are you doing, Cory?
Doing great. I'm a little tired.
Me too, man. We went to the game and I'm about done.
I watched the game, excuse me, and then I was screaming in the basement by myself because I was watching wrestling and it was killing me to watch what happened in Ann Arbor. I live in Michigan, and that was brutal tonight. But really proud of that basketball team. I thought they were going to lay down at the end and give it away, and they hung tough, and they got it done. And I just, Tony Perkins is becoming that rock solid guard. He's what I consider a tournament point guard. When you're in an NCAA tournament and everybody's locking everybody down, you got to have a strong guard that can take you, that can get a bucket at the end of the game, that can create, get fouled, go to the line and make his free throws. And he's that guy. I mean, I haven't felt this strongly about our point guard or, our crunch time guard since probably the days of Andre Woolridge. BJ Armstrong is a bit of a stretch, but excuse me, Val Barnes. The one thing that's really disappointing, though, is this team's got to learn to get some rebounds. I mean, to sit here and give up this many offensive rebounds, my life expectancy shortened by at least half a day from those offensive boards we gave up tonight. I was dying. I mean, it's so hard to watch because the opponent has so much hope because they're not going to hesitate to put the ball up because they know they're going to get the rebound. It just gives them another sense of confidence that you feel like you have the green light because it's not a big deal. It's not like a turnover. It's not like you're going to lose possession. Your guys are going to get the board, and we cannot afford our opponents that confidence and that luxury. But that said, this team, we've got our guard and we've got some role players. We've got that shooting guard in Peyton Sanford or Dix that can hit the jumper and open up the middle to allow for Owen or the only thing is, we got our Valpo transfer that was off to I'm at a loss for his last name.
Cricky.
Thank you. I was going to say Kickert. I'm glad I didn't say that. Anyway, shame on me, but we can't have him slumping in crunch time. To me, if Cricky can get his shot back, get a little bit of confidence back, you got Tony, he's rock solid, and you get either Dix or Sanford that can hit the jumpers and maybe some threes, and you keep Owen out of foul trouble. If this team can, I know the regular season's running out, but if they could make a little bit of a run in the Big Ten tournament, I mean, don't you think they could paint themselves enough of a resume to get consideration for the tournament?
Yeah. I mean, I first of all, I said this earlier when we were on with Ryan. The pieces are there. I mean, this team, I felt like for the last couple of weeks, this team is not as good as the sum of the parts. You look up and down this roster. Tony Perkins and Peyton Sanford are a good 1-2 punch on offense. They just are. And I completely agree with you on Tony. He is a tournament guard and a tournament player and a big moment player just in general. when those two go 1-2, your turn, my turn, or kind of 1A, 1B, as long as I will say I prefer the ball in Tony's hands with him making the decisions, because I think he's rock solid right now making decisions. But those two are a great 1-2 punch. And they could go for 40. I mean, they against Michigan, I don't know what the final total was, but they had to go for at least 40, 45 points. And that was basically the ball game between those two. And Freeman's foul trouble is an issue for this team, because, then you're left with Cricky, who's not super athletic. And then the next center on the roster is Evan Bronze, and he's getting 5 minutes a night maximum. So he's just, they don't have a third center that's in consistent rotation. So the pieces are all there, and they do have, Tony can take the bull by the horns and say, come on guys, follow me. And I think those guys will follow him. It's just tough because of the rebounding. Like you said, you cannot give that many offensive rebounds up and expect to win a lot of games. And they got away with it tonight, but man, off of offensive rebounds, you get two things. You get put back layups and you get wide open threes. That's what you get off of offensive rebounds. It's just what happens. So,
and they were playing, to me, they've been playing better defense.
Yes.
They've really been working. And I've always accused them of being lazy on defense. And when I'm down in the basement screaming at them, it's because of their defensive effort. You can't fault a team for not being on with their shots. But there's no excuse for not playing hard, good, tough defense. They did that, but then all for naught. And Ohio State gets another offensive rebound. It was I was dying for them because they worked so hard on defense tonight. I think there's hope. I think that
there is.
They've really got to get the most they can get out of these next three, because beyond that, and then get into the tournament. And if they can, they have to look at it as opportunity. They have to see, that Michigan State, Illinois, one of those games, if they can, take a big shot at one of those teams and pull something off and get a quad one out of that, and then make a little run in the Big Ten tournament, maybe. It's such a shame if they don't get into the tournament, because this team, like you said, they have the pieces. They just got to put it together. And I also picture PMAC on his little 8-10 foot runners going into the lane, and his defense and their press. And then lastly is their free throw shooting. They're such a great free throw shooting team. They would be lethal in the tournament in a close game. That's Absolutely. What won it for them tonight, Yeah. So, but I wanted to call in. I've really been active on Twitter referencing Saucy T, Tony Perkins, because we've really been starving for a point guard that I consider an NCAA tournament point guard. And Tony Perkins has worked his butt off, and he has become just that.
Yeah.
And I solely wanted to call into this show. I hope this gets back to Tony Perkins, but I think I'm not alone. There's a lot of Hawkeye fans that get tired of watching us play, whether it was a Seton Hall or one of those old Big East teams, and they always have those good guards that always seem to, in a Michigan State or someone with those strong guards that always kill us.
Yeah.
And we don't have that answer in the tournaments. We get into these tournaments and there's always some strong guard that kills us. And we have that piece. And we have the other pieces. It's time for these guys to assume their roles and perform their roles. If they do it, this team, if they can get into the tournament, I think they could be a dangerous team to play. But it's, again, for a bulk majority of the season, they've been their sum has been less than the individual parts. And for whatever reason, the synergism hasn't kicked in yet. And I'm hoping, I think you referenced it, PMAC, watching the ball go through the hole in crunch time, hitting those free throws. Tony's well on his way. Dix is really coming into his own. And and Owen has got it. He just got to stay out of foul trouble. I mean, and again, then it's Cricky. I think you got to see Cricky coming in, and Cricky's got to start getting that 12-foot jumper back to where he owns it.
A word on Cricky too, by the way. Cricky had 7 straight double-digit performances, and actually 8 out of 9 to open up Big Ten play. He's now 4 games in a row of single digits, including 2 points against Indiana, 7 against Michigan, and 8 and 9 against Ohio State and Purdue. All of those games, he's been under 50% shooting. So he is really, really struggling after a really, really strong start to the season, considering the adjustment that he had to make coming from Valpo.
Yeah, and it just seems like, that's his game, is that 8, 10, 12-footer. He's not as effective weight down low banging with the big boys. Owen can do it. I mean, he doesn't get rejected. He's our guy down low, and Cricky's that 8, 10, 12 foot. But I mean, they all have a role they can fulfill. It's time for them to, it's like watching these wrestling duels and the commentators like, what's your go-to? Okay, what's your go-to move? It's time to take your go-to move. Okay, Cricky, your go-to move is your 8, 10, 12 footer.
That can be the beauty of, some teams, they have lots of great players that can do lots of great things, but sometimes in March, and even in the NBA too, we see this a lot, where you have teams that have 1 or 2 great players and a bunch of specialists. And, Kyle Korver comes in the game and he knows my job is to run off screens, catch and shoot, and that's it. That's what the Kyle Korvers and the JJ Redicks did. The Dennis Rodmans way back in the 90s for the Bulls. He came in the game for energy, defense, and rebounding, and that was it. And he didn't try to be anything that he wasn't. I think it's a good point that Peyton and Tony can be the kind of do-it-all guys on offense and let the rest of the guys do their thing. But have Fran tell them, like, hey, Owen, give us energy, fight on the glass as hard as you can, and play with authority inside and finish with authority inside. But don't try to be anything that you're not. Same with Cricky. Get comfortable with that 10 to 15-foot jump shot. Josh is a great catch and shoot shooter. He could take a couple dribbles into a shot. But when he comes on the floor, let him fly. Like, be you. And same thing when any of the bench guys come in the game. And I think they follow that blueprint and they can be successful.
Yeah. And so, we're at that stage where people are feeling the ceiling is settling down on us, and the walls are caving inward. I think that you can't feel that because, to me, this team has not peaked yet. And
no, they haven't, not at all.
It's as opposed to other teams that have peaked early. This team has not really peaked because not every one of its role players was always playing its best, all in unison. There's always been one guy this year that's been a little bit off. And so,
and we could just point this out too, by the way, that this team has had stuff going on off the basketball court. I mean, they talked about right at the beginning of the Big Ten season when they lost at home to Michigan, Peyton Sandfort came out and said, and he didn't give any specifics, but he said, this team's going through some stuff off the court. Then Tony Perkins had a grandparent die. I can't remember if it was it his grandmother died, and then Peyton and Price's grandmother also passed away. I mean, and who knows what Patrick's dealing with too. We had a comment. I'm going to just read this and then I'll probably have to let you go. But Circle Herc said, on a serious note, PMAC hitting those clutch free throws with the anxiety he suffers from is huge. It's okay to criticize a player when it's justified, but a huge attaboy is deserved. Respect. I could not agree more with that sentiment. You do not know, and I don't know, and anybody else has no idea when Patrick McCaffrey steps up to the free throw line late in the game, what's going through his head, because he had his battle last year. He's had to fight through a lot of things in his life, and you just don't know what these guys. I mean, they're all college kids. I'm slightly older than they are, but I'm not much older than they are, and I know from my own experience, like it's not easy to be a college athlete, and these guys have had so much going on, and you don't know if that stuff alleviates a little bit. You get more distance between between now and Peyton and Price's grandmother passing, and you get that little bit of time and space from those tragedies, and who knows, maybe they've got 9 games left, and then the Big Ten tournament. In my opinion, they have to win 14 Big Ten games, including the tournament, to get to the NCAA tournament. Maybe 13 gets them in if they win, for example, 11 regular season games and 2 Big Ten tournament games, or 12 and 1 Big Ten tournament game. That might get them in. I think 14 guarantees a spot, but this team's got to go out and earn it, because they dug themselves a hole. They lost to Maryland at home. They lost to Michigan at home. Those are 2 tough losses, and they haven't been able to pull off that big road win yet against a top team. So they've got to look at each other and go, man, 9 games left plus the tournament. Let's go get this, because it's going to get to a point here in a week or two where if they, especially these next 3 games, you're absolutely right. They need to win at least 2 of these 3 games, if not all 3. And if they don't do that, then they're either going to have to pull off a whole ton of upsets, or they're going to have to call it a season.
But this team, in my opinion, is in a position similar to a lot of Tom Izzo's Michigan State teams, where they look like, man, they're not even going to make it into the tournament.
Yeah, he had a lot of teams that made late pushes.
Yeah, and so it's there for the taking. It's not over, and I hope that these guys sense the opportunity. But I think the most promising thing, again, and I'm beating a dead horse because I just love it, is we have a bona fide, legit NCAA point guard in Tony Perkins. Get that man into the tournament so he can do his work, because we've been missing that. And
I'll tell you what, watching Iowa have an NCAA tournament caliber guard is like watching Iowa football have a mobile quarterback.
It doesn't happen very often.
Doesn't happen very often, but when you watch that one drive of Marco Linez, didn't you say to yourself, man, it's been a long time since I watched this, right?
Yeah. And not to switch subjects, but the whole Lester hire, I like it a lot. I watched a couple hours of offensive sets of mostly Western Michigan stuff, and but I like his misdirection, where he'll zone block an entire line, say left, and then he'll pitch it right on a misdirection. And I see a guy like Caleb Johnson running all the way into the end zone and into the stands. I mean, he's Caleb Johnson is built for that type of play. And then the RPO, I mean, that's about as fancy as I think Kirk will let it get. But if he lets it go there, and I mean, I'm going to go with whatever KF decides. I've always got his back. So much respect for Kirk Ferentz. But if he lets that RPO thing go, and you maybe not with Cade the first year, but
what if they have passing packages for Cade and RPO packages for Marco? And I'll tell you what I want to see. I want to see either Caleb Johnson, or I want to see Caleb Brown. I want to see Jazz Patterson get involved with that, provided all 3 of those running backs stay, and LaShawn Williams as well. I think those 3 players, particularly because of the speed that you need for the RPO, Jazz, LaShawn, and Caleb, I think those 3 with Marco and potentially even Resar in a couple of years when he comes in, those guys could do damage.
And there's just so much more to pay attention to as a linebacker and as a safety. Puts a lot more pressure on defenses and creates a lot more opportunity for our tight ends. I mean, look at how great of tight ends we've had with vanilla offenses. Just wait when linebackers and whatever DBs are trying to cover them, got to start paying attention to that RPO action back there.
Absolutely. I mean, you go back to 2022 and look at Sam Laporta, watch tape on Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta's got a linebacker one-on-one with him and a safety watching him over the top every single play. Every single play. He's got a linebacker all over him, and he's got somebody watching him to clobber him over the top if they try and lob some weak pass up over his head. You just wait until they have to pay attention to a running back or two, a wide receiver or two, maybe an underneath slant route or something. That things that just were not even threats whenever Brian was the OC. I got to let you go, Cory, but it was very good to talk to you. And absolutely, I hope to see you tomorrow night after the women's game.
All right, share with Cory that I'm severely disappointed he's not pulling off a 4-hour show. I mean, that was the standard. He established that, and as Hawkeye fans, we expect that now.
We need it. It's our therapy session, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if he does 4 hours and then he drives back to Ames, it puts him home by daybreak. I mean, what's wrong with that? He'll see the sunrise.
Yeah, Cory's not as much of a spring chicken as he used to be. He's gotta get his beauty sleep in.
Yep. Okay. Go Hawks.
Yep.
Great
Go
job,
Hawks,
Kyle.
indeed. Yep. Thank you. All right. Good to talk to Cory, our third Cory of the night. Circle Herc says Kyle gets bumped by Kashin. I do tomorrow night. I am not filling in if Kashin is there. I will let Cory and Kashin do their thing. I will be back as soon as I can be back, though. I do enjoy doing this. It's very good fun, especially having you all join me. Is Cory eating ice cream in a fetal position again? No, he isn't. That was how he was feeling whenever the Lester hire occurred, but Coach Patterson did talk him off the ledge on that one. So he is not. He's I'm sure he's arriving back in Ames here in the next hour or so, or 45 minutes. So, but no, he's not tonight, not eating ice cream in fetal position tonight. Jeffrey says this team, barring injury, is going to go on a run in February. I don't disagree. I think this team puts it together and they can absolutely make a run. There's no doubt about it. This team has the pieces, and this Big Ten is not that good. It's just not. It's not that good of a conference. I mean, even looking down the stretch here, I mean, they've got 2 games at Illinois, 1 game is at home. Any Big Ten home game, you've got a shot to win. And they've got games against Minnesota at home. They've got Penn State on the road. Penn State's not very good. Maryland on the road, again, chance to avenge that loss. Wisconsin at home. Wisconsin just lost to Nebraska on the road. Anything's possible there still. On the road at Michigan State. Again, Michigan State has looked up and down at times this season. Then they play on the road in Champaign. They host Penn State. They go to a pretty solid Northwestern team, and then they host Illinois to finish up. But out of those games, they've got at least 6 or 5 games that they are very much in to win. And if they could pull off 5 or 6 wins down the stretch here, I think they will find themselves in a good spot to make the NCAA tournament. All right, we will be taking another call here shortly. Just want to remind everybody again to go ahead and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and also on Facebook, From the Hawkeye on Twitter and Instagram, and From the Hawkeye of the Storm on Facebook. If you are interested in finding me, I am Kyle Spence Golf on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, but mostly Instagram and YouTube these days. Kyle Spence Golf, all one word on Instagram, and 3 words on YouTube. Also, if you do want to support the show, a great way to do that is to go ahead and sign up for a free Aura trial using the link www.aura.com/Hawkeyes. When you go and fill that free trial out, it does take a couple of minutes, but when you get to the end of it, do go ahead and let them know that you're from YouTube and from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Let them know that we sent you, so that they will continue to support the channel through that deal. Also, check out the merch. I am wearing the merch right now. Very, very comfortable hoodies, lots of different options. I know there's mugs and cups on there as well, a bunch of different stuff. So go ahead and check that out. Smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Cory did just pass 7,000 subscribers here recently. So continuing to grow the channel as much as we can, especially leading up to next football season with the new OC and everything. I am sure that will be very exciting. All right, let's get to Tom here. We are live for almost 2 hours. Hope you haven't been waiting too long, Tom.
No, you're fine, Kyle.
How are you doing tonight? What did you think of the game?
Well, we got to win. Can't complain, can we?
No, I thought it was not
didn't choke at the end.
They didn't. They finished the game much better than they finished the Michigan and the Maryland games. I was at the Maryland game as well as the Ohio State game tonight, and I can tell you the execution and the coaching down the stretch of that Maryland loss was not pretty.
So now listening to you here, the last caller, we're going to make the Sweet 16.
He was optimistic, wasn't he? I like it.
Would you put that on this team? I mean, really? And being realistic. I'm not. I mean,
I have
they're
always
not very
said,
good.
I have always said the last couple of weeks I've heard a few people say what Cory said about this team potentially being able to make a run in March. I think the point about Tony Perkins is valid. He is an NCAA tournament guard. The position that they're in, though, they need to make the tournament first before we talk about anything, because this is not a team that is. I think if you were to play the rest of the season out 100 times, they might make the tournament 35, 40 times. So they've got to make the tournament first.
Well, the tough thing is those games you talk about are 50-50 games.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So you could lose all of them. You could win all of them.
Then if you don't beat Wisconsin, you don't beat Illinois, you're 50-50 games. If that's what you end up, you're not going to make it. You see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and this has been their problem, is they've dropped 2 of those home games that they were not supposed to drop, and they did not pick up the Purdue game.
And even the Wisconsin game was winnable.
Yeah, even the Wisconsin game was winnable. Yeah, if they shot the ball a little bit better in that game, they've got half a chance on the road.
No, I mean, this, to me, the team is better than I thought it would be at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a lot uglier than what it is.
Yeah, I wasn't super optimistic about this team either. Now, granted, we didn't know. No. I didn't really know if Ben Krikke would transfer to the Big Ten and play well. So I guess that was kind of an unknown. But, I was certainly not having one of the Murray twins or a Luka Garza or any of those guys. It didn't look like there was a top dog.
They're stepping up. I mean, they're playing better. And maybe February will be good, Yeah. We can only find out.
One thing that I pointed out to Cory tonight that I thought was interesting. If you watch that Indiana game right from jump, Indiana came out and they hit Iowa in the mouth right away at home. There was energy in that building. That building seemed like it was ready to blow the roof off. And they came out with more energy than Iowa and more authority than Iowa. And Iowa played a really good game from about 2/3 of the way through that first half all the way until the end, where they didn't execute very well. But there's a good 20 minutes in the middle of that game that Iowa won by maybe 15 points. And because of that hot start, Indiana was able to hold on to a win. But I haven't seen this Iowa team come out and hit anybody in the mouth and go on a big run like that. That's what I'm waiting for right now.
That's kind of the problems in their losses. They haven't played a whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, we look back at some games, they played a good second and third quarter, but they didn't play good first and fourth quarter. Do you understand? I mean, they got to put together a full game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those especially those 2 bad losses. I mean, they got destroyed down the stretch of that Maryland game. They gave up 55 in the second half against Michigan. I mean, you just can't do that. I mean, they lost that second half by 8 or 10 points, basically on the fact that Michigan just got whatever they wanted.
So you're gonna have to take Cory's spot now.
You think so?
Game, he was, yeah. In the Maryland game, in the post-game show, he's a little bit disappointed with Fran. That Fran kind of lost that game in the end.
I mean, I don't totally disagree. I think that at the end of the day, I think there's a lot that goes on the players in terms of execution. But there were, I mean, some of the play calls in that game were a little bit, I don't know. They were interesting. They weren't like Fran.
When you start struggling and can't get 5,000 people,
yeah,
in Carver Hawkeye Arena,
yeah.
The last time that happened, Coach went.
That's true.
Tonight, I know they announced the attendance around 10, but I'm sure there wasn't that many there.
Yeah, it felt like the first half. I would say it was very quiet in the first half. It was not.
And I will say it's terrible to have a ball game on a Friday night. Do you understand? I mean, you take out the whole high school basketball world of going to that ball game.
Yeah.
That's huge in the state of Iowa.
It's tough because they've got it. You're right. It absolutely is big. High school basketball is important, but I mean, you've got high school basketball to worry about. You've got the women to worry about as well. Because I'll be honest, like if you had to choose right now between going to a men's game for $15 and sitting on your couch and watching the women on the same night, a lot of people right now are picking the women. Like they just are. And that's a sad thing. And the other thing I'll say about that too is I think that's an interesting point about the coach, because a lot of, like we've talked about with the offensive coordinator, with Brian Ferentz and Tim Lester coming in now, one of the things that gives Kirk Ferentz such immunity to go through, his son being OC for 6 years and completely falling on his face the last 3 years before replacing him with Tim Lester. The thing that got him through that period is Iowa football was sold out every single week of every single year. And if that wasn't present, I wonder what the pressure from administration would have looked like. I feel like, yes, the administration, exactly. The administration wants to put the best product out on the field, but until it really hits their bottom line, do they really, really push it? I don't know. And so maybe if it starts affecting the bottom line of men's basketball, maybe they'll start to push some things with Fran as well.
Growing up in the 80s and 90s, I never dreamed that when Todd Licklider was there, we'd have 5,000 people at Carver Hawkeye Arena.
Yeah, and it's not. It's, by the way, it's not allowed. I mean, tonight it was. I'd say tonight it looked like it was 8,000 or 9,000, but it like the first half.
They announced it was a little over 10.
Yeah, it was. I don't think it was over 10.
That's what they announced that.
It was. But again, the first half was like. I mean, I played collegiate golf and I played golf tournaments all my life. It sounded like a golf tournament in the first half. It sounded like a golf tournament. Now, I will give the fans credit that showed up. They made it good in the second half. They were loud in the second half, but I wouldn't say the fans contributed until then.
Well, my prediction is where Jack goes is where Fran's going to go. That's my prediction.
Yeah. And where I haven't checked in on Jack's recruitment. Is he?
No, I haven't either.
Have a team? Let me see. I know he was down to 6 or 7. He had listed 6 or 7 teams, but
so he's got one more year in high school, right? He's just a junior.
Yep, he's I think. No. 247 says he's a senior.
Okay.
He's got.
So this might be it.
Yeah,
this might be it.
You never know. I mean, with Patrick,
Fran has a hard time of recruiting at Iowa, and I'm not saying the next guy will be any better. You know, but he's had a tough time getting what he needs.
Isn't it interesting, like, to see the enthusiasm around women's basketball and think, man, like if I could create a good program at Iowa, maybe a coach could harness that. It is weird to see like 15,000 people cramming into Carver Hawkeye Arena every single night for the women and thinking that couldn't happen for the men.
Well, tonight I had a job to do. It was either do it tonight or tomorrow night. Yeah. So I listened to the ball game tonight.
There you go.
Tomorrow night.
Well, you made the choice. You made the choice that a lot of fans did. You picked the women over the men, right?
And so I actually watched Northwestern play this week. I don't mind watching Northwestern play. I mean, it's a good product.
Yeah.
But
I think they're a fun basketball team to watch. They've got some good guards. They've got some good defense. They've got They've got, I mean, their arena's not super big, but they fill it every time, and it's a great environment. Those small gyms can be really good when they fill them.
Now I did watch last week. I wanted to watch that on the girls' side, Wisconsin at Williams for Wisconsin.
Yeah.
She's pretty good. So I watched them in Minnesota play, and boy, that's a lot different than watching Iowa and Ohio State play.
A little bit of
Completely different game.
a different paced ball game, right?
Yeah, the quality was just not there on either end, you know.
Yeah, some of those games when they're played slow tempo, they can feel like meat grinding games, and then you turn on to Iowa and it's a track meet.
Yeah, and before I get off here, I'm not a big Peacock fan either.
I am.
I'm not here to complain about it, but I'm not a big Peacock fan.
I have not loved the commentators that they put forth. I don't hate the broadcast. I don't love the broadcast either, but I don't hate it. It just irritates me when I don't. I mean, and granted, it is my fault, but when I don't have the foresight to look ahead to see if the game's on Peacock, and I try and put it on and it's on Peacock, then I just kick myself because I'm like, man, I can't watch the game.
When you talked about the Caitlin cam tomorrow night, I'm not really excited about that.
It's a little over excessive, isn't it?
I do get really sick and tired of all they want to talk about is Caitlin. Do you understand? I mean, I understand it, but yeah, that's all you see. And I'd like to, some of the other players get a little bit of exposure, but it is what it is. I get it. So,
yeah. I mean,
good you're on tonight.
Yeah.
We'll be on tomorrow night.
Yep. We will enjoy Kashin and Cory tomorrow for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks.
Good to talk to Tom. Let me go back here. I had a comment I had to read. Cory is in the chat. He just keeps popping in, once every 5 or 10 minutes to remind me how to do my job substituting for him. He says, "Thanks for calling our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line." Correct. I need to remember to do that. So, I'm sorry. I'm a rookie. We will get there. Please don't kick me off. But indeed, thanks for calling our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Appreciate Iowa Smokehouse sponsoring the show, as always. Cyhawk C Money says, I agree with Tom. Thumbs down for Peacock. It seems to be a general consensus until they get established that people are not huge fans of Peacock. We'll see if they can establish themselves before next football season, though. That'll be interesting to see how that goes, because it always takes time to get that established. John says Carver Hawkeye needs a remodel job for acoustics, or the university needs to get a new arena with better acoustics built. I did see somebody did a 3D rendering on AI of a old Capitol Mall replacement arena that was a little bit smaller, but I think that would be interesting. But yes, they do. The first thing they need to do is they need to figure out the students, because the fact that, the student section tonight, again, is just, there's just no engagement with the student body. No engagement with the student body whatsoever. And some of it is probably where they're seated, but they just need to figure out a way to get butts in seats. I don't care if they have to give away free tickets and incentivize people to go to games. They need to get butts in seats, because that's, I talk about the Carver Hawkeye sounding like a golf tournament. It's the enthusiasm really starts with the students. That's where, you go to Illinois, or you go to Purdue, or, State Farm Arena and Mackey and any of the other great venues in the Big Ten. And it starts with the students in terms of energy. And if they don't bring it night in, night out, then it's really tough for your arena to provide you some kind of competitive advantage at home. Kathy says, really liking Dembele. I am too. I think again, I've said this before, he is rough around the edges, but I believe he will be a player down the stretch. Do you want to give one more shout out to Aura? Go ahead and support the show if you don't mind by signing up for a free Aura trial at that link. And when you finish up, it does take a couple minutes, but do let them know that YouTube and From the Hawkeye of the Storm sent you. So they will continue to support the show. Check out the merch. Again, I wore it to the arena tonight, wearing it on the show. Do check out the merch. Great way to support the show and to also let people know that you're a fan. Drop a subscription if you haven't already. Hit the like button and follow us on all social media, from the Hawkeye of the Storm on Facebook, from the Hawkeye on Twitter and Instagram. If you're interested, I know we had a comment here. Circle Herc says, Kyle, do you have any socials, Twitter perhaps? I do use Twitter as a means of communication with Cory and for keeping up with Iowa Twitter. I don't really use Twitter to tweet out or anything. If you do want to find me, YouTube, Kyle Spence Golf, and Instagram, Kyle Spence Golf as well. Those are the two best places to find me. There's a lot of golf stuff on there. So if that's not your thing, no problem. But that's where I'm at these days. Let's go ahead here and see if we have anything else that we need to catch up on before we wrap up here. Cory says, doing a great job. Thank you, Cory. Please don't take me off the air too soon. Ryan says, texting and driving is illegal. Cory is not texting and driving. He does have a good friend with him, so I'm sure that he is driving and Cory is sitting in the passenger seat calling balls and strikes on my performance tonight. South Bend Hawkeye says, Kyle, are you a Kirk Ferentz supporter? I am a Kirk Ferentz supporter. I'm not a Kirk Ferentz ride or die to the point where I would, whatever Kirk does, I'm gonna bow down to him. But I absolutely love Kirk Ferentz. Kirk Ferentz is all I know as a Iowa football coach. I have never had another Iowa football coach in my life. I'm 23 years old, so I have never had another coach in my career of loving Iowa football. And most importantly, I want Kirk Ferentz to go out the way he wants to go out. If he wants to go out this offseason, let him do it. If he wants to go out in 5-10 years, I would love for them to win a bunch of games and go out playing his style of football, going out the way that he wants to go out, because I think he's earned that over the course of his career. He's done so much for the program and the community. I would like to see him go out on his terms. I think any great coach deserves to do that. Ryan says, sad you didn't get to enjoy Hayden in the 80s. I need to watch up and read up on some of my Hawkeye history. I think this show is going to motivate me to go do that because I just, I come on here and I watch Coach Don Patterson and I hear a Hayden story every night, and every night I just get more intrigued about the career of Hayden Fry and what I'm missing out on. So I do need to check in on that. All right. So Hawkeye Girl 2003 says, it's so weird that there aren't students there. People even turned out for Alford, and he was a grade A jerk. I don't know enough about Alford. I was not really watching Iowa basketball back then. It kind of gives away my age, but it is weird that students aren't there. I mean, they've got to have top 3 worst student section in the Big Ten. It's atrocious, and I don't know necessarily where the blame goes, because they've had, this year they're not wonderful, but they've had good teams over the last few years. They've had 2 National Player of the Years in Luka Garza back to back, and Keegan Murray contending for that award as well. It's just unbelievable to me that they can't get more students in the seats, because you see the enthusiasm for Iowa football, you see the enthusiasm for women's basketball, and it's just non-existent with the men. I don't get it, but that's up for Iowa athletics to figure out, and for Fran McCaffrey to continue to promote. Cyhoxy Money says, what Kirk Ferentz has done is not easy, though, sustaining a perennial winner. Completely agree. We look at so many programs around the conference. Even Nebraska has so much heritage and so much winning history, and they can't even make a bowl game for almost the last decade. So it's not easy to win football games, and he's committed to a style of play that he believes in, and I've enjoyed watching. I love great defense and great special teams just as much as any other Iowa fan. So he's been able to play his game and make a lot of teams play his style of football rather than the other way around. I think that's really great. Bill says, yeah, a lot of loyal assistants. Yep, that's a part of it. That's and a lot of people have said that he has assistants that haven't left, but credit Kirk Ferentz's character and the culture of the program for that as well. That's, people are not leaving because they love to be with Kirk Ferentz and they love to be in the Iowa program. That's kind of the bottom line. So, all right. If anyone else wants to call in, I will drop the link right here in the chat. So that link is in the chat. It also should be in the description. We're going to give it about another 2 minutes, see if we have any other callers for the night. And if not, you will be able to catch Cory and Kasheen Alexander tomorrow. So after the Iowa-Maryland game, after the Iowa women's Maryland game, they will be tipping off at 7, post-game coverage, likely around 9 to 9:30 with Cory and Kasheen. So please make sure you come on in and support Kasheen as she is giving up her time to be on the show. And as with Coach Patterson and Coach Close and any of the former Iowa coaches or players, we really appreciate her time and want to show her appreciation. All right. One final reminder here as we wait to see if we have any callers. Please follow us on social media, from the Hawkeye of the Storm on Facebook, from the Hawkeye on Twitter and Instagram. Kyle Spence Golf, if you're interested in finding me. And then also feel free to support the show with an Aura trial. Go ahead and click that link there or copy and paste that link into your browser if you can. Sign up for the free trial and let them know that YouTube and From the Hawkeye of the Storm sent you. John says, again, I would, but my niece is sleeping. I'm apparently loud. No problem, John. Good to have you in the chat at least. But hopefully we'll be able to call in tomorrow night when Cory and Kasheen are live. All right. Support the merch. Hit that like button, and especially tomorrow, as with anytime we have a coach on, go ahead and share the show on social media. All right, everybody. We don't have anybody else in the call-in line, so I think we're about ready to wrap it up. Iowa defeating Ohio State tonight at the buzzer, right down to the last minute of this game at home at Carver Hawkeye Arena, 79-77. Very important win for them as they continue their quest for an NCAA tournament spot. They are now 13-9 overall, 5-6 in conference play. They improved to 9-3 at home in Carver Hawkeye Arena. So all very positive to escape with a win tonight. In terms of the actual game itself, Tony Perkins registering 20 points on 50% shooting, 6 of 12, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Peyton Sanford and Josh Dix each chipping in with 15 points. Peyton 6 of 11 from the floor, 2 of 6 from 3. Josh Dix 7 of 10 from the floor. Owen Freeman adding 7 points. Ben Krikke adding 8. Hawkeyes did get destroyed on offensive rebounding, but besides that, shot the ball well. Didn't shoot too many threes. Lots to build on, guys. As always, appreciate Cory giving me the opportunity to hop on with you all. Always a good time. Please make sure to catch them, Cory and Kasheen, at 9:30 approximately tomorrow night after Iowa versus Maryland women's basketball. All right, everybody. That's going to be it from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Thanks for calling into the Iowa Smokehouse call online. We will see you next time.